Hello and welcome to Cooking with Anand. Today we are going to be making meringue cookies. And these are little cookies that are really fluffy and crisp and they taste amazing, so I highly recommend you make them. Our first variation we're going to make is a peppermint one and our second variation is a vanilla one. So to start off we have to take a towel and make it slightly damp with a little bit of vinegar and wipe down all our bowls and our beaters. Anything that comes in contact with the egg white you want to wipe down with a little bit of vinegar. You don't want to completely douse it with vinegar, but you want to make sure there's a little bit so you can wipe away all that grease that's on it, because any grease that the egg white comes in contact with, any traces of grease or butter or fat that the egg white comes in contact with, will make it so the egg whites can't froth up. And these cookies are also gluten-free because they don't have any flour. Now we're going to separate our eggs. I like to do this with 3 bowls. So what I do is I crack my egg and I open it and make the egg white fall into the middle bowl, and I toss the egg yolk back and forth between the shells. And try not to break the yolk because that'll make it harder to separate the eggs. I just let all of the egg whites drip into the bowl below. You could do this with your hand and crack it into your hand, but I prefer not to. Okay, now we're going to put our egg yolk into our third bowl and do that with the rest of the eggs. I have completely separated my eggs out. I had 6 eggs. And I separated them, and I have absolutely no traces of yolks in my egg whites, because if you have any of those, the fat will prevent the egg whites from fluffing up. So my other ingredients I'm using are sugar, cream of tartar, and for the vanilla cookies I'm using vanilla extract, and for the peppermint cookies I'm using a little bit of peppermint extract or regular mint extract and a drop of red food coloring to make it look nice and peppermint striped. So now I'm going to set my egg yolks aside and put my egg whites over a bowl of simmering water, and this is how you make a Swiss meringue. Unlike a French meringue where you add sugar to beaten egg whites rather than cooking the sugar and the eggs together. So this way you know there's no sugar granules when you're beating your eggs, and the eggs will be nice and warm so they'll whip up much faster than if you were to use a French meringue. And you don't have to add sugar while beating it, which can be kind of uncomfortable and crazy. I've taken the egg whites off the heat, and I knew they were ready because when I took a little bit on my finger and I rubbed it in between, I could not feel any sugar granules at all. So that's how you know when it's ready. And as you can see, it looks nice and creamy, and that's because we have whipped a little bit of air into it since it was on the heat, and we also added the sugar and it dissolved. So that's why it changed colors a little bit, so it's a nice milky-like color. Into my Swiss meringue, I'm going to add half a teaspoon of cream of tartar, and this is an acid. It's tartaric acid, and it'll help the egg whites froth up, and when they bake, it'll help it so it doesn't deflate. Now I'm going to beat my egg whites on medium-high speed with an electric mixer until they gain stiff peaks. You could do this by hand, but it's really hard and it takes a long time, and I prefer to do it with this because it's fun to use. Now my meringue is at the ribbon stage, which means when I lift the beaters up, the batter slowly drips down and it kind of holds its place on top of the rest of the meringue. So now I'm going to add a little bit of salt, about 1/8 of a teaspoon, just to bring out the flavor a little bit. And these are pretty sweet, so it'll kind of balance all the flavors together. Now I'm going to keep on beating it until it reaches stiff peaks. As you can see, we got the beautiful white Christmas we wished for here in Colorado. Perfect for sledding and other stuff you can do. And I have my meringue here, and it matches the snow. Whoa! And it's nice and glossy with stiff peaks, ready to be baked. I've separated my meringue mix into 2 bowls. Half of it's in this one, half of it's in that one. And now into this half, I'm going to add in some vanilla extract. And it's going to make it taste kind of like a marshmallowy kind of feel to the meringue. It's about 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla, which will give it a really nice flavor. Now I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of peppermint extract into my other mix of meringue, and I'm just going to mix that in. When you're dealing with meringue, you don't want to over mix it in after you've already beaten it, because you can be deflating the air bubbles, so you just kind of want to gently fold in the flavoring. I'm going to add a few drops of red food coloring to this so we can make it nice and peppermint striped. And see, you just have to give it a quick mix. And then as you bring this up to the piping bag, it'll mix in and it'll look really nice. When I'm making these meringue cookies, you want to swirl it up and then release it at the end. So just keep on swirling and release it so it looks like a little button. I piped out all my little meringue cookies. I piped out the white ones a little bit bigger so that they could get a little bit of a different texture, so it's kind of a contrast. I'm going to let these bake for about an hour to an hour and a half in a 200-degree oven until you can lift them off the baking sheet and they won't stick at all. I pulled them out of the oven, and as you can see, they can come off really easily. Nothing sticks to the sheet at all. And when you crack them open, the outside's nice and crisp and the inside's kind of chewy like a marshmallow. It's really yummy. Tastes like a candy cane. Merry Christmas from Cooking with Anand. Enjoy your time with your family and friends. Unless you're watching this sometime when it's not Christmas, in which, happy whatever day it is.